Max Verstappen just stole victory from Oscar Piastri's hands in the most brutal way possible. You know what everyone thought would happen at Spa. Piastri was supposed to cruise to victory. The guy absolutely destroyed everyone in qualifying by nearly half a second. That's like winning by 10 car lengths in F1 turn. But here's what they don't tell you about starting on pole at Spa. It might actually be the worst place to start. This video breaks down exactly how Verstappen pulled off one of the smartest tactical victories of 2025, why Piastri's perfect pole position was actually a trap, and the jaw-dropping moment that changed everything. We'll dive deep into the race data, analyze every crucial overtake, and reveal the strategic masterclass that nobody saw coming. Going into Saturday's sprint race at Spa, Oscar Piastri looked untouchable. The McLaren qualifying with a lap time of 1:40.5 seconds, putting him nearly half a second clear of championship rival Max Verstappen. But here's where it gets interesting. While everyone was celebrating Piastri's dominant pole position, Max Verstappen was quietly setting up what would become one of the most calculated race wins of the season. The Red Bull team made a crucial decision during qualifying. They ran with less downforce, sacrificing qualifying pace for straight line speed on the race day. Behind the scenes, there was a drama brewing. Lewis Hamilton, who won sprint race earlier in China, had suffered a shocking exit in the first qualifying session. The seven-time world champion spun his Ferrari at the bus stop chicane and qualified a dismal 18th. This meant the usual suspects who could mix up the race strategy were out of the contention from the start. Meanwhile, Lando Norris lined up third but was struggling with his car setup. He admitted after qualifying that he wasn't quick enough and had to do work overnight. The stage was set for what looked like Piastri cruise to victory, but Verstappen had other plans. Here's what most people don't understand about Spa. Starting on pole can actually be a disadvantage. The long run-up to Le Combe corner after famous Eau Rouge section gives the car behind a massive slipstream opportunity. Piastri knew this, but what he didn't anticipate was just how much straight-line speed Verstappen's Red Bull would have. The McLaren had superior cornering speed through the technical sections, which is why Piastri was so dominant in qualifying. But Red Bull's decision to run skinnier rear wings meant Verstappen would have a significant top speed advantage down the Spa's long straights. This created the perfect storm for what was about to happen. Pierre Gasly threw another wrench into the works. The Alpine driver had qualified strong 8th, but suffered a water leak before the race started, taking him out completely. His teammate Franco Colapinto, who had qualified 19th, was also relegated to the pit lane start after Alpine made illegal rear wing changes under parc ferme conditions. The grid was essentially set up perfectly for a straight fight between the championship contenders. When the lights went out, Piastri got the perfect start. He held his line into La Source, the first corner, and initially managed to keep Verstappen behind him. For those first few hundred meters, it looked like the championship leader would control the race from the front. But then came the Kemmel Straight, and this is where Verstappen's strategic setup paid off in spectacular fashion. Using the slipstream from Piastri's McLaren and his car's superior straight-line speed, by the time they reached the braking zone for Le Combe, Verstappen was ahead. It was textbook example of using aerodynamic strategy to overcome a qualifying deficit. Piastri had no answer. His car simply didn't have the top speed to fight back on the straight. Leclerc pulled off identical move on Lando Norris at the same corner. The Ferrari driver slipstreamed past the second McLaren, suddenly putting both Red Bull and Ferrari ahead of their respective McLaren rivals. In just one lap, the entire complexion of the race has changed. What happened next was pure racing poetry. Piastri, now in second place, spent the entire 15-lap sprint race hunting down Verstappen. The McLaren had better pace through the technical sections, keeping the gap consistently within DRS opportunities. The tension reached its peak on lap 11 when Verstappen had a slight moment at the chicane. Piastri saw his chance and got a better exit, setting up a potential move into Le Combe, but Verstappen's straight line speed advantage meant he could still pull away just enough to stay ahead. Lando Norris, meanwhile, was having his own battle. After losing out to Leclerc on the opening lap, he managed to fight back and reclaim third place by lap 4. The British driver used his McLaren's superior straight-line speed to pass the Ferrari on the very same Kemmel Straight where his teammate was struggling to get past Verstappen. The final laps of the sprint race were absolutely brutal to watch if you were a McLaren fan. Piastri was clearly the faster driver in the technical sections, but every time he got close enough to attempt a move, Verstappen's Red Bull would just pull away on the straights. With 5 laps to go, Verstappen even complained about his braking issues on the car. This should have been Piastri's opportunity to strike, but the fundamental speed difference between the cars meant it didn't matter. Verstappen's defensive positioning and his car's straight-line advantage were simply too much to overcome. The most frustrating part for McLaren was that they had the fastest race car overall. Piastri's lap times were consistently matching or bettering Verstappen's, but the track position and aerodynamic strategy had rendered that pace advantage meaningless. Sometimes in F1, being faster isn't enough if you can't get past the car ahead. As the checkered flag fell, Verstappen crossed the line first, Oscar second, and Lando Norris third. Piastri came into Belgium with an 8-point lead over Norris in the standings, but both McLaren drivers had expected to maximize their points haul at a track that should have suited their car perfectly. Instead, Verstappen delivered a perfect reminder of why he is a 4-time world champion. When his car wasn't the fastest, he used strategy and racecraft to find the way to win. The Red Bull's team decision to sacrifice qualifying pace for race pace was vindicated in the most emphatic way possible. For McLaren, this race exposed a fundamental weakness in their approach to circuit-specific setups. Despite having the fastest car over one lap, they couldn't convert that pace advantage into a race win when it mattered the most. Team principal Andrea Stella admitted after the race that they had more work to do to get their setup right for the top step of the podium. The result also highlighted just how competitive the 2025 season has become. With McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes all capable of winning on their day, strategic decisions like Red Bull's wing choice became more crucial than ever. Sometimes the team that makes the smartest compromises wins, not necessarily the team with the fastest car. Looking ahead to Sunday's main Grand Prix, the sprint race results showed up what promised to be an epic showdown. Would McLaren learn from their strategic mistake and fight back, or would Verstappen momentum carry him to another victory at the legendary Spa circuit? Thank you for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe.